Hi, I'm Corndawg, and we are gonna make some Sazeracs and soap. So let's get started. Hi, I have been making my own soap for a couple years now. We're gonna make a chai tea smelling soap with a couple different colors and try to give it a little swirl. And to amend our journey in soap making, we are going to make a Sazerac cocktail. Sazeracs are delicious. They are a very cool, old school New Orleans drink, invented sometime in the very late 1800s. But it's one of those cocktails that kind of has interesting stories that we don't really know which one is the right one. We don't really know which one is the proper recipe. But if you look in David Wondrich's book, Imbibe, there's a great many pages about the Sazerac cocktail, Sazerac bar, the bitters that are essential to Sazeracs. Today, we're gonna be making a Sazerac that I like to make. It's a slight departure on the original. There are a couple original versions. The one with sort of the most heft, I would say, is Thomas Handy's Sazerac recipe, which is basically a jazzed up old fashioned when you really break it down. So it's quite amazing what the Sazerac and Thomas Handy's company did to launch this cocktail into the cultural, what's the word I'm looking for? The zeitgeist almost. It was just a cultural phenomenon. And yeah, it's so could have been worse. Whew. All right, Sazeracs. The most essential ingredients that sort of help the Sazerac to depart from an old-fashioned and become its own thing are Peychaud's bitters, started by Antoine Peychaud, and then sold his recipe to the Thomas Handy Company, which eventually became the Sazerac Company. They give a Sazerac its sort of like red hue. Also, very essential to a Sazerac is absinthe. Just a couple of spritzes from our atomizer, but it really transforms the cocktail and gives it certain aromatics that make the drink what it is. So basically, Thomas Handy's version that was sort of sold as one of the beginnings of like bottled cocktails. It was marketed as their whiskey cocktail, but it was essentially the Sazerac. And it had Peychaud's bitters. It had a sweetening agent. Today we're going to be using a Demerara syrup. That's going to be a brown sugar syrup that I think sort of rounds out the drink. Absinthe, of course. And there was an interesting play with timing here when the cocktail was originally getting started, because absinthe was banned starting in the 1910s area for a long time. So several of the recipes that have been dug up don't have absinthe in their recipe because it was not available or they couldn't legally say that it had that. So we are going to have some absinthe, just a rinse or spritz in our version of our Sazerac today. And traditionally, the base of a Sazerac is rye whiskey. There's possibilities that the cocktail started out because it started in New Orleans, which has such a French culture from all the French immigrants that came there and Creole immigrants, that the cocktail started out being made with cognac or brandy. But once the Thomas Handy Company started taking over, the Sazerac bar was a thing. Once the cocktail started getting popularized, that sort of coincided with the time that America started just being obsessed with whiskey because that was the native spirit. So rye, specifically Maryland rye, was known to be the best thing for Sazerac cocktails. I am actually going to be departing from that a little bit today too. I'm going to be making it with the Del Bach Dorado, which is Whiskey Del Bach's mesquite smoked iteration. Whiskey Del Bach is very near and dear to my heart. It's a really cool product, and I think the mesquite smoke adds a really cool layer to a Sazerac cocktail. So with it being Whiskey Del Bach, it is not a rye whiskey. It is American single malt territory. With that, the only prep we really need to do is make sure we've got our Demerara syrup made and ready. And I'm gonna jump back to do that prep real quick with you. We also are going to make sure we have our absinthe transferred into a little atomizer, and then we will be ready to go. Like I mentioned before, for prep, we are just going to be making a very simple 2-to-1 ratio of a brown sugar syrup. I'm going to be prepping our Demerara now. I've got my electric kettle that is heated up with water, and I just brought it to a boil. So you can use your stovetop, your microwave, whatever. And I have a little kitchen scale with me here as well. So I'm just gonna measure by weight. And like I said, we are going to be doing a 2-to-1 recipe. 2 parts of the weight of the sugar to 1 part water.
Of brown sugar, and now I'm going to add 25 of the water. So in total, it's going to be 75. And I'm just going to give this a quick stir. We're going to incorporate it until all of the sugar grains are gone and it's all very homogeneous in texture. And then we can let it cool down for a couple minutes, and then we'll start making our Sazerac.
Let's make a goddamn cocktail. This is my favorite version of a Sazerac cocktail. We are gonna make sure we have everything that we need. We've got our little atomizer of absinthe. We've got a lemon because Sazeracs need some lemon zest. We've got our Demerara syrup that we've just made. And like I mentioned, today we are going to be using Whiskey Del Bach Dorado as our base spirit. So let's start building, shall we? I like to start my Sazeracs with the bitters. And the original recipe calls for 2 dashes of Peychaud's. I like to double that, at least. I like to go heavy on the bitters. So you're going to do 4 solid dashes, and don't be scared of dashing. We are going to grab our bar spoon, and we're doing just a bar spoon measurement of that Demerara syrup. And remember, it's that rich 2-to-1 ratio. So that's going to help knock up the sweetness and bring some balance to our cocktail. We are going to add our Whiskey Del Bach. It's going to get 2 ounces. Right into our mixing glass here. And yeah, we're going to be using a rocks glass for this cocktail. So you can either pop that in the freezer to chill it, or you can just add some ice as you stir. We are going to be ditching this ice in just a minute. And then we will add some ice to our mixing glass here and give it a nice stir. You want to give it a pretty long stir because the cocktail is going to be served without ice.
Which is not super common for an old-fashioned style cocktail to be served up, really. But it is one of the cocktails that does that.
And as you can see, as I'm stirring, the color is this nice, like, bright red. And again, the reason I love this Whiskey Del Bach is I'm starting to get whiffs of the mesquite, that smoky mesquite character, and the maltiness a little bit from this single malt. So this is nice and chilled. We are going to make sure our glass is nice and chilled. I'm going to give that a little swirl around here, get that a little extra. And we don't need that ice, so we are going to go ahead and dump that. And we will need our absinthe rinse. So I like to do sort of like a sandwich approach. So you're going to spritz, make sure you coat the glass 2 or 3 times. You can smell it to be sure, but it should be pretty pungent. Absinthe usually is. Take our strainer and go ahead and strain our cocktail
into our glass. Make sure you get every last drop.
Beautiful. And I like to give it another little spritz of absinthe, really kind of coat the cocktail on top. And then finally for our lemon twist, be real careful with these Y peelers here. They have been known to cut many a finger. So we've got our lemon peel here, and we're just going to zest right over the top of that glass. And you can either leave the peel in the drink or you can discard it. I am going to give this a nice clean finish. So I'm going to toss my lemon peel, and with that we've got our Sazerac. So we are now ready to jump into making some soap. Cheers. All right, let's talk a little bit about soap safety. Obviously, we need a cocktail to begin our soap making journey. The biggest thing to keep in mind is you are going to be dealing with lye, which is caustic, which I don't technically know the definition of that, but I know that it can burn your skin. Think Fight Club, for example. So we don't want to burn ourselves. So please make sure you are wearing goggles and protective gloves. I just use like dishwasher gloves. Also, before we get to that point, we're going to make sure we finish our cocktail or put it in the freezer for safekeeping, because we don't want to have any of that near this. You don't want to ingest it. Just be safe. Don't be dumb. Let me just give a little rundown of what I'm going to be doing. So I make soap in these blocks. I have these nice like silicone molds, and mine are full for the moment. So I'm actually going to show the process of cutting the soap first, and make sure we have a place to put our next batch of soap. This one is so nice. But the one we're making today is not gonna match, but it is gonna smell really good, I hope. And I mean, I'm already like halfway through my Sazzy. So if that happens and you haven't started making soap yet, then just go make yourself another cocktail, because now you know how. So let's cut this soap and then we'll start making our other soap. For cutting soap, you could literally just use a knife. I used to use a chef's knife and sort of measure it out. And then I splurged a little bit and got this kit that came with this contraption here. It's just like a little wood block. There are some like measurements in here that you can use to line up, and you can like change the width of your soap block if you want. So I've set it to the desired measurement that I like to cut my soap at, and then I use this little slicing tool. So I'm gonna take my big block of soap out of my mold here, and we'll cut our soap. God, I wish they would invent smell-o-vision already. So we'll go ahead and slide it right in here to our little contraption. And I'm gonna start slicing. Yeah, that's a good fucking drink. Goddamn. So for making soap, you're gonna need some stuff. The basics of soap, i.e. saponification. You are taking a fat source, so like different oils. I use coconut oil, shea butter, and olive oil as the base of my soaps. And the bulk of my soap recipe that I found that I use for my little silicone molds is it's mostly olive oil in the recipe. And you can go on brambleberry.com. That is a site that has a lye calculator, which I highly recommend to use to get the percentage of your oils and fats, and then also the percentage and like direct amounts of to calculate your lye and water solution. Okay, so for making soap, you're essentially taking your fats and then you're taking your lye solution. Your fats you're gonna wanna heat up so that they're all liquid and homogenized together. Put it in the same pot. And your lye solution, you are going to
take your lye and your water.
Your lye and your water, and you're going to mix them together. And it's always going to be lye into water, because if you pour water into lye, it could explode. It's terrible. So lye into water. I really hope that's the right one. I literally always have to Google it, so just Google it if you need to. But you take your lye solution, you take your oils that are now combined homogeneously in one like cauldron, basically. Yeah, making soap is very witchy now that I think about it. It's nice. And you are gonna pour them together, but only when they are within ideally 10 degrees Fahrenheit of each other. And so it's a dance. It's a very obnoxious dance of checking the temperatures. In the meantime, you can start playing with your colors I like to use mica powders, which are natural. I think they're derived from rocks of some kind. But that's what adds like the sparkly nature to my soaps. And I love using essential oils. I have recently gotten into fragrance. It's a fragrance thing. But you can use those. You can use madder root powder to dye things red and pink. You can use natto seeds to dye. You can dye your olive oil ahead of time, and that makes a nice like yellow, like sort of mustard, golden yellow color soap. You can use titanium dioxide as a colorant that makes your soap more white and sort of like bleaches it depending on the levels that you go to. Activated charcoal is another thing that is like really good for exfoliation in certain amounts and turns things sort of like gray to black. It also gets everywhere, so just be prepared for that. But today I'm going to be using titanium dioxide. I'm going to go for like a cream sort of color, and that's going to be sort of the base. And then I'm going to attempt to do some kind of like swirly pattern with a more brown, like gold brown color for like the chai element. I'm going to start measuring out my oils, and I'm happy to put the recipe in the description that I used today. Forgot where I was going with that. Could be this guy. All right, measuring out our oils. So we need a kitchen scale. I like to just pop the pot that I'm going to be heating everything up in right on top of that. 650 for the olive oil, 110 for the shea butter, and 140 for the coconut oil. Let's measure it out. We've got our oils measured out. I'm going to go ahead and turn on our stove top. That's the front. Good. I can read stuff. And just do it pretty low because that's what we want. Also, just like look at the fucking amount of shea butter I have. And it's like it's in a Lowe's bucket, so you can see why I'm trying to use it every time that I make soap. Pro tip, I like to use a wooden utensil to stir things around.
We're just gonna let this sort of start melting down in here. It's gonna get warm, but that's okay. We're gonna get it back to...
Oh fuck, I forgot to mention this. We're supposed to... There's a certain range. So I mentioned that you want to get your soap, your lye, and your oils within 10 degrees of each other Fahrenheit. But that also has to be in a certain range of temperatures too. So I like to aim for about 120 degrees Fahrenheit for your oils and your lye solution. But another but, it really shouldn't be over like 130, or else it's not going to have the correct chemical reaction. It shouldn't be under like 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's also that to contend with, which is what makes making soap so hard sometimes. And our oils are almost there. So we're gonna get started on our lye solution. With that said, that means that we need to finish our cocktail for now. Or if you're not finished, put it in the freezer, but like, bottoms up. Right here, we've got our lye solution as well. So we need 125 grams of our lye and 279 grams of water. Don't worry that it says milk. So we're gonna measure out our lye solution. I do it in a very sturdy deli container. When you pour in the sodium hydroxide, which is lye, it reacts with water and it heats up. And usually it heats up to like upwards of like 200 degrees Fahrenheit. A nice way to kind of get your temperature down quickly, because again, we're aiming for that 120 degree range Fahrenheit. To get that down quicker, if you use ice, it's already starting at a colder temperature. So you use ice for your water, and then you pour in your lye, and then you stir it in, and you're gonna wait. I like to do this outside. You want to do this in a well-ventilated area. It's nice to do with a mask on as well. So we are gonna get prepped for that. And then we'll start working on our colors as well. Okay, I've got my gloves on, protected. All right, let the records show that I am being safe. We're putting our shit away. One more sip for good measure. Also, wow, she bloomed. So pretty. Okay, so we've got our gloves on. We are going to put a mask on, and we're gonna go outside. Okay, we're ready. Cool. So it's time for the glasses to fog up.
Okay, I am so excited. I just screamed. This is a very small thing, but it's very cool to me. When I measured out the ice, it's 279 grams exactly. Oh my god. Okay, so like, look at that. Look at it. Look at it. That's never happened to me before, so this is very exciting. Wow.
So I'm gonna take my perfectly measured ice and my kitchen scale and the lye, and we're gonna go to my little balcony out here, and we're gonna, again, pour your lye into your water, and you'll be good. All right, y'all, I'm not gonna lie to you. I tried the new thing, just ice, and that did not work. So basically, I've done it with like ice water before, where I make the lye solution, but this time the lye, when I poured it into just like the straight ice, it did not get hot enough. So I'm gonna redo that step and meet you back. All right, take two. We're gonna start making the color for the chai part of the equation. So we're gonna do a brown, like glittery brown gold vibe for most of it. So we got this guy and these guys. Again, this is the mica powder that I think is just based on rocks, quartz, I don't know. But it's something geological, so. My husband's a geologist, so I should know. I like to mix it in with a little bit of olive oil. It's very Popeye of me. The titanium dioxide, so the part that makes it the creamy white color, we're gonna do that in the big container here. And then we'll pour that, the part that we want, into the like brown gold glitter part to help make the chai. I'm gonna do 2 loose tablespoons of that in here. And it's nice to just add a little bit of oil while you're mixing this, because it helps it incorporate.
Oh yeah.
It's probably hard to see, but we're getting more of a paste, which is what we want, because that's gonna help turn the initial oils and soap into the color that we want for the base. So we've got our like base colors down. Oh look, it's this like amazing copper color. I don't know if you can see that there. Wow. Yeah, looks like a penny. So that's good, I guess. We're gonna start on our initial temp check for our oils here. There's some good transferable skills. Like you have to stir the lye solution. So you gotta like be able to stir well for your cocktails. Again, we are aiming for 120 degrees, give or take 5 on either side. So the range being 115 to 125 for both the lye solution and our oils. So we've got our white from the titanium dioxide, and we're gonna pour the lye solution into this big container with all of it with the white. Make our like soap base, and then we will pour some into this chai to then try to swirl our stuff. For swirling, we're gonna use a chopstick.
This part's about to just become like an incredible shit show every time, just because I am not good at time management, and that's the reality that is me. So I'm gonna go ahead and do all the things that I can do beforehand. We'll plug in our immersion blender. Honestly, it really helps to have one for making soap. They're pretty cheap, like you can buy one for like 20 bucks.
So we have our silicone mold. Let's go ahead and check our temps. And our lye solution is still at like 150. And our oils, I had to heat back up, and they are getting to 115 right now. So we've got a little ways to go. So I'm gonna just speed things up while I do this sort of modulation process.
But before I do that, I will show you a technique that I have employed to help things along the way. So I just take a little saucepan and put ice, basically just put ice water in the saucepan. It's nothing too complicated. And put whatever you need to cool down. In this case, it is our lye solution, which is again still at 150 degrees. Put it in there, and then you can add some water to the ice in the pan.
But let me tell you, when things get to the temperature, it's gonna be go time. Find the groove of it. You just don't want it to reach trace. And so that again is gonna be when it starts to harden up basically. And so we don't want it to get there anytime soon because we want to add another color. I will show you when we get there.
I'm taking the oils off the heat. Because now we're at 125. A little over.
And it's fine to keep heating your oils up, but it's not fine to keep modulating the temperature of your lye solution. So that's very important to remember. So our oils are at approximately 125, 124, 125. And our lye solution is approximately 118. That is 7 degrees within each other. So we are going to go ahead and do our magic. We're going to add our oils into our main receptacle here. And again, this is our cream color goal. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a stir with our whisk here. That looks pretty fucking good. So, and we are now going to make our initial soap. So at this point, it is important to remember to get your oils or fragrance ready.
In the mold, the base part. And yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but it's reaching trace faster than ideal, so we are going to do the best that we can. We're putting all of the cream color in first. And then we are going to stir in the brown, like glittery brown part for the chai. And then we're going to pour that in as well on top. And it's kind of seasy, which is okay. We're just going to add in the rest of that batter. So, I'm going to continue doing that. And, I mean, this can happen for a variety of reasons. I haven't figured them all out yet. Honestly, it's a pretty big point of contention with my inner self. But, so despite the fact that we use olive oil for the bulk of our batter here, it's still clear that we reached trace at a faster point than we wanted to. So it's just a nice life lesson, I guess. The words of the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, I know. So, yeah, we're gonna keep doing this with what we've got. There's still quite a bit of the cream color batter here. So I'm gonna put that on top what I can. And then we're gonna try to make a little swirl. So get your spatulas, put all of the batter in.
With one of your spatulas, make sure everything is sort of flush. with the top here. I mean, really, you're gonna do whatever design patterns, whatever that you want. But this is what we got here. I did honestly, like the colors I'm pretty pleased with. The brown, like glittery color and the cream color are really nice. And then we're gonna smooth that out on top. And then I'm gonna take my chopstick here and you go in at one of the corners and you literally just kind of like swirl it around. And I can feel that the trace is like, it's definitely reached, so that's kind of a bummer for our purposes here. And yeah, you can even see like with the way that the design is going, it's not an ideal texture. But the beauty of soap is we're gonna try to get what we want and make something cool, even though it's not exactly what we planned for. Okay, so we want the soap to kind of all settle in there, so you just like take your mold and slam it down. And there's like little patterns you can do. So one nice thing about reaching trace pretty quick is that you can do like fun little like wave patterns like this on the top of your soap. Wow, this really does just like look like soft serve. But yeah, I'm gonna call it there on the swirling. We're gonna do a little bit of a pattern with the mica powder on top because I like to do that. One thing about soap that maybe nobody says is that it creates a lot of dishes. So just be aware of that. And I'm gonna use a fine mesh strainer here to kind of like add the mica powder that I want. Ooh, that was a lot.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's the glitter that we want. Yes, queen, yes. It's really fun when there's just like glitter in the air, you know? I'm gonna try to get as much of this as I can here. I'm gonna show this as it's going in. Okay, great.
I'm gonna show you the top. Look at her. Wow. And so basically we're gonna cure this soap for 4 to 6 weeks. And what you want to do is you're gonna cover this soap bar. I like to do it with like a little plastic sheet. You can do it with anything. And then you'll cover it with a towel on top of that. So we're tucking it away, and it's just gonna kind of like sleep there swaddled for a few weeks, and then it's gonna come out perfect, hopefully. And if not, then we tried. So there, little buddy. Y'all, it's been more than 6 weeks. Our soap is cured. I took the block that we made and sliced it up, put some labels on it. This one is called Don't Chai Me Bro. So punny, we've got our chai soap. It smells great, it looks great, it's super creamy, the texture is awesome. I do sell my soap, and I'm gonna list these up on my Etsy shop. I do only have a few left because I gave some for the holidays, but soap is a great gift you can do that for. I'm glad we got our chai soap all finished up. So yeah, again, finished product. We did it. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Learned how to make some Sazeracs and soap. Really appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will be coming out with more very shortly. Cheers. Where the fuck was I going with this? Okay. Sazerac. Soap. Let's make some Sazerac and soap. It's Corndawg.